What's up guys, my name is Frazier Almeida with Luxury Homes Photography based here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're a local photography company specializing in fine luxury homes, condos, high-rises, residential homes, commercial buildings, you name it, we're doing it. But today we're doing something just a little bit different. We recently got hired to shoot my client's 2016 Mercedes Benz, and we wanted to apply the same lighting techniques we use in our home photography to the automotive industry. So this video is a little behind the scenes of when we actually got out there in the field doing the lighting, and then when we come back to the studio in post-processing using Lightroom, Photoshop, and putting all those layers together to make that one final composite image. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is something new we're doing. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below and I'll do my best to get back to you all. So the first part of this video is going to be a quick behind the scenes of when we're out in the field and a speed edit of how we put everything together. The second part is going to be the full length edit of the process. So if you guys want to stick around, you guys will learn a lot from that. So rather than bore you with the entire editing process, I'm going to show you the buildup of all the layers used to create this image. It took me about an hour and a half from start to finish to create this image. The technique we are using I learned from Mike Kelly. We'll be masking out each layer and changing the blend mode to lighten, which allows for only the lighter parts of the image to show through and the dark areas will be invisible. It's a great way to build up these individual layers to make the one final composite image. Alright guys, so here we are in Photoshop. And I'm just going to briefly show you guys the technique of how we're building these layers onto each other. So here's a layer of one of the light passes we did. So as you can see, we have the light hitting this body line, kind of going up around the doors and towards the back. So it's nice because you can see the little highlight detail here. But obviously we don't want this streak up top and we don't want this tripod. And actually, if you notice here, there's a second tripod here because we actually got a separate angle. So we have the main angle, which is what we use to shoot this image, but then we have a separate angle, which is a different composition, a little bit tighter on the vehicle and more forward facing the front bumper. And all we need to do is just grab another individual frame where we don't have the tripod in there, so that way when we're editing, we can actually get two shots at the exact same time without having to redo the light painting process all over again. So it's nice. So you just by cloning out, or just by not taking an exposure with the tripod in it, you can just mask it out easily in Photoshop and have two pictures ready to go without having to redo the entire shoot all over again with the light painting process. So let me show you guys really quick how I'm building up these layers. Usually what I'll do is I'll grab the lasso tool. I just have a feather of 3 there, and I'll just roughly go around where I want the light to be in the image. So I'm just kind of going around where I see it on the car, and I'll just close that, and I'll come down here, make that a layer mask. Now, if you notice, I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's like a little halo here. That's because of the pixels in the background. But if we change this to lighten, it's gonna make any darker images, or I'm sorry, any darker pixels invisible and just only show the lighter pixels in the image. So it's a nice little trick to build up these layers. So the next one we'll go up to is the headlights. So same thing here. Let me show you guys the original image. Let me just disable this. Here's the original image. Obviously, I'm not gonna use this full glow. I kind of just masked in a smaller area. So I just masked that in. So just this little area in front of the car, and change the blend mode to actually luminosity, because all I wanted was the brightness of the lights, but I didn't want the color of the blue or the yellow in the headlights to show through. And then here's the next layer we got here, which is the car doors. And we have the bumper. The bumper and a little bit of the wheels. I kind of did a pass here. And if you notice, there's a little bit of detail in the side mirrors. Here's another bumper, a little more detail in that. Here's a pass with the light doing the sides of the car, so you get this body line right here. This pass was for the hood, the window, the front windshield, and then the top of the vehicle on the roof. So you kind of get this this line that kind of separates the car from the background. Here's another pass. This one was a little bit more centered. I put the softbox more center of the vehicle, and I went from the top towards the back. This is the front bumper, lower bumper. Just getting a little bit of highlights here. Here's another pass for the side of the vehicle to get a little bit more highlights on the body lines. Here's the front wheels, and I actually threw a curves on it just to brighten it up a little bit more. Here's the rear wheels. Same thing, I threw a little bit of a curves just to make it a little bit brighter. And we have the front bumper and the hood as well on this pass. Here's the lower left side of the bumper. And we have the parking lights, which are just these lights. We did an exposure for just that, so they weren't blown out. And then we did another exposure for only the headlights. So we turned those on. We got those in the brake lights as well. And then the final image we got was just the interior. So if you see here, we did a pass where we shut off all the lights and we just only exposed on the interior. I took my LED light, put it in there, left it on for I think it was 10 or 20 seconds and exposed for just the interior, just so that we had a little bit more detail rather than just a black window. So that came out kind of nice. And that's pretty much it. That's how we built up this entire image. It wasn't too many layers. It was, I think about 39 layers, but we ended up using maybe about 30 images. I'm not sure. But it wasn't that bad. The hardest part about it was just making sure that we masked out the right images. And sometimes when you're doing this, you'll find that there's a whole bunch of layers you have with different highlights. So you want to pick out the best ones, because sometimes it might be a bunch of passes where it doesn't really benefit the car. It's not making it look good. You don't want to overdo it either. For me, it's more of an aesthetic thing where I just look at it and if it feels right, then I'll keep it. If it looks like it's just too much, I'll throw the layer away and I'll just keep going. So that's pretty much the Photoshop process. And then we brought it into Lightroom after that. And in Lightroom, I just did a little modifications. We crushed the bracts a little bit, opened up the whites, shadows, and dropped down the highlights a little bit. Added some clarity, dropped the saturation down just a tad. I didn't want it to be too saturated. And then I'm a big fan of the 2x1 crop. So then the final image was here. This was the 2x1 crop. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Let me open this up. So this image here with all the layers, there's no way to bring this into Lightroom. It's just way too big. As a matter of fact, you can't even save it as a PSD file or a TIFF file because it's too large. So you have to save it as a PSB. But even as a PSB, you still can't bring that into Lightroom. So what I did is I flattened the image and I brought that image into Lightroom to make the final adjustments to it. But the original image, if you notice here, had these valet poles. And I don't think they helped the image, so I made an effort to make sure to edit that out. So here's another pass with just that cloned out. So it's just a matter of grabbing your spot healing brush, clone tool, and just kind of getting in there little by little and cloning it out until you get a nice clean image. If I showed this to somebody, nobody would ever know I did any kind of cleaning up for that. They would just think that's how the car was. And a couple little things you'll see here, there's like little cracks in the ground. I'll just remove some of that sticks out to me. But that's pretty much it. So once that's done, then I'll save that. And then this image I can bring into Lightroom. So once it's in Lightroom, then I'll make the final tweaks, which are the exposure, the blacks, whites, shadows, highlights, clarity, saturation. And then finally the crop, which is the 2x1 crop, one of my favorite crops. And threw a little vignette on it, and that's it, guys. That's the image from start to finish. So you kind of saw the behind the scenes of how we were out there painting it. Like I said, this was about it was a 10-second exposure we were doing for each pass. So we'd hit the shutter, we have 10 seconds. So we'd start from the front of the car, light painting all the way to the back, and then start again with the next pass, and just kept doing that for all the elements, the wheels, the headlights, the interior, the roof, the body lines, the side of the car, front bumper, hood, everything. We get as much detail as we can, and then once we have all those layers, then that's it. We come back to Photoshop, put it all together, and here you go. This is the final image. Here's our initial base image we started off with, and the final result. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That was the full process of when we started this project all the way up until the end. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below and I'll do my best to get back to you all. Thanks guys.